that case, do you want to move over to the world of sport?
Oh,
which
yes,
you know
why
we are
not?
both very well versed in, all sports.
Including professional crochet.
Which we will now do a video essay on. But just before that, as a palate cleanser, would you like to talk about the YouTuber boxing fight?
No, not really.
No, that's fine. Well, I've watched it, so
Okay.
I'm going to talk about it.
That's fine. I haven't watched it, but I have seen that 7 seconds that is oh so important.
Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley
Two.
2?
Because
Apparently
that
he's
we
had many
fucking-
fights.
yeah, we lost Tommy.
Yes, for those who don't know, Jake Paul was meant to fight Tommy Fury.
Tommy Fury, this bloke from Love Island who is a shit boxer anyway.
Well, there you go. Well, that's certainly what Jake Paul seemed to think. I will talk you through his post-match promo in a minute. But yeah, I didn't love this fight. I just watched it because, you know, it's Jake. It's popular. It's meant to get a lot of coverage. So I will just read my notes verbatim, and if you want to chime in, feel free. All right. Some of Jake's tattoos are all right. This is... Oh, I didn't put a subhead in, but this is round 1. I'll let you know when we jump to round 2. Woodley is going to run out of gas pretty soon. This is what the commentator said. We know Jake can bang, and then inbred power. Those are both
Fucking
phrases
hell.
they used.
Who commentated it? Do you know?
I don't know. It wasn't Mauro Ranallo, because I love Mauro Ranallo, and it wasn't him.
Okay.
You can look that up if you want. I wrote a lot of punches to the back of the head. This is the commentators at the end of round 1. I give it to nobody, and the other one goes, I agree.
That is outrageous. Do they have any business watching a boxing fight?
I don't know. They seemed like they just didn't know what they were talking about. Which is fine, because I don't really. But I thought it might really annoy someone like you.
Yeah, it would have annoyed me, to be honest.
But they were just...
Give it to know what, mute.
They were just like us talking about something we don't know about, like physics.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Round 2, or maybe it's round 3, I don't care. Paul gets a cut above the eye due to an accidental elbow, as the referee says, and then they show a replay after the fight and there is no elbow to be seen.
Wow.
The referee was also really weird. Like, he was just shouting stuff, like when they were punching each other in the back of the head, they were just like, hey, back. He was just going, hey, back of the head, but then he just wouldn't do anything about it. Round 4, I've written, the first exciting thing happens, a mat return from Woodley. Because he just
Excellent.
picked him up. He picked Jake Paul up and just threw him on the ground. And it was fantastic.
Like the Green Goblin and Spider-Man, eh?
It wasn't a double leg takedown. I mean, he lifted him by the waist and then turned his body, so it was almost like just like a judo throw or a slam or a mat return, as you might call it. But yeah, fantastic wrestling move in this boxing match. And the referee scolded him for about 2 seconds and then let the fight continue. So that was funny. I wrote, I wonder if these commentators have ever spoken to each other before tonight. End of round 5, both are gassed. Round 6, an amped up woman in a sequined gown in the second row is throwing better jabs than both men at this point.
Excellent.
Both men are dead in the 6th round, and towards the end of the 6th round, it's quite clear that they have a verbal agreement that Woodley is meant to go down, and Woodley puts out his face, but then Jake shoot punches him. He obviously is like, I've got to make this look real, so he punched him as hard as he could in the face. Woodley is, I mean, not knocked out, but he comically falls like he is knocked out, and just fantastic stuff. Following the fight, Paul cuts a promo on Tommy Fury, Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz, calling them all pussies.
I'm sorry, how is Nate Diaz in the same conversation as Tommy Fury?
Well, it was because Fury backed out of the fight, as we know.
Nate Diaz is a fucking animal.
Well,
you'd eat him.
I think what Jake Paul said was, again, I didn't pay too close attention, I think Masvidal and Diaz were in the building but left. Like maybe they were to support one of the people on the undercard fights or something, but they didn't stick around for his fight. And
fair enough.
And I'll get to that in a second. And so yeah, he called them out as well, or maybe they said something to him on Twitter. I don't know or care. What I've written is, it is a shame they immediately show the highlights of the undercard fights, which clearly features better boxing.
Yeah.
And then finally, one of the commentators said Jake Paul is good for the boxing business, and as much as it might anger some boxing fans, he objectively is. Like, this is it's creating a lot of business for the sport of boxing.
KSI Joe Weller, KSI Logan Paul just brought loads of eyes to boxing, to be honest, to the point where I used to be the noob that knew nothing in the pub when there was a fight going on, and now I look like a fucking expert
compared to all the
new
kids.
people. They're like, oh, he can't do that, it's the end of the round, relax, they can go back to the corner for a drink, relax. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate to say it, I just don't care. I literally,
well, this is the thing.
I didn't know there was going to be a fight between him and Tommy until very, very late after it was announced. Then I found out, and I was like, oh, sick. And then you were like, by the way, it's not on anymore. And I was like, okay. And now apparently he fought Tyron Woodley without anyone noticing. Yeah. And oh my god, it's so bad, that sucker punch at the end, just the right hook, and you just the reason why everyone is so like, oh well, it's a combat sport, there's boxing in the UFC, like you have to be able to throw punches, like of course Tyron Woodley should be able to batter him, Jake Paul therefore must be amazing. But when you look at Conor McGregor as an outstanding stand-up fighter as he was, he went into the ring with a guy that dodges punches for a living and wins on points, which is basically what I mean. The fight got stopped because Conor gassed in round 10, but it wasn't like he got devastatingly knocked out, because the guy that he was boxing was a technical boxer who hits without being hit, which is what boxing should be, right? Or if you want to be a purist about it, it's hitting without getting hit. So everyone's like, oh, if Conor can go 10 rounds with the greatest of all time, who, by the way, wasn't known for damaging people or knocking people out, he was known for moving out of the way and being defensive, which wasn't very entertaining, but was extremely technically difficult and, a lot of praise, and that's why, right? He won his fights that way, and why he's one of the greatest. But then you bring someone like Tyron Woodley in, who isn't even known for being a stand-up fighter, right? Is more of a wrestler, who, no offense, but wasn't great in the UFC. Like, when you compare him to what Conor did, right? And then you put him in the ring with someone else who's, trained only boxing and doesn't have to worry about leg kicks or, like, grappling or getting put to the floor, who's taller, who's heavier, who's watched his brother box and train. I feel like you could get any pretty athletic person with no other worries or financial commitments to just go and train for like 6 to 18 months at boxing, and they'd probably do very, very well. And that's what Jake did in the first one, right? When they drew. And then they've both gassed and he's fucking whacked him and knocked him out, right? So it's not like Jake outboxed him. It sounds very much like they both got gassed and Jake just fucking walloped him.
I don't think either of the two men were very technically good boxers, but I'm not a boxing expert. I was watching their feet the whole time, and they were both all 4 feet were just flat to the ground and not moving. So I was like, I don't think that's what you're meant to do. But as I say, the ending looked a bit weird, but I'm not in any way saying that punch that Jake threw was not the hardest punch he's ever thrown, because it looked fucking horrible.
Pretty big.